Let's create that energy, ladies! This is the podcast where I bring together real women for real talk. I'm Kat, and you are watching Babe Unscripted.
I wanted to just quickly, you talked about energy and just, I'm pretty sure you know about that. It's like an experiment or like a study where they take the vibrations of sound waves, right? Because even like when we talked about waves was taboo to me, right? But scientifically, which I love science, and scientifically, I'm pretty sure you've heard about that experiment where they take the sound wave and it makes certain patterns, right? So when we talk about energy, that's what I tell people. Like I typically take it to science, where yeah, if you look at our like matter and anything like that, there's energy fields. So when you take it to science, I'm totally sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's taking the intangible, right? The unknown, which why a lot of people can't get on board. But when you start to incorporate more of the scientific studies, and you can start to see it, and when you can show like the frequency, right, of the sounds doing something. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Emoto. He's a Japanese scientist, and it's another thing I also want you to go and Google, where there's a study where he has the vibrations of water. He looked at it under a microscope, and the results were just so amazing. Where he showed when he's speaking, like let's say if he talked into a glass of water and he says like the words "I love you," and then he went to go look up the frequency or the water molecules under a microscope, you see these beautiful like snowflakes. And then when you looked at the frequency of, I know one of them was like heavy metal or saying "I hate you," I mean, it's like really distorted. It's not this beautiful like little snowflake. And so when you also start thinking about that, water, what are we, right? We are primarily water. And so you start to think about the thoughts that we have, and you start to think, oh my gosh, well, what am I thinking? And of course, if you're someone, this is completely normal. If you're someone that has negative thoughts, it's something that, we're programmed to believe, to have. And so when you can start to make those shifts to start to create more positive thoughts about yourself, then you can also start to shift your frequency, if you will, what I like to say. So it's so beautiful that you brought up that study.
Thank you so much. I don't know about that study, so thank you.
Yeah.
One top tip that I can say for that, right, is the study also showed like you could just even write something on it, right? So I love writing affirmations on my water bottle. Like water can be so healing. Yeah. And in one of my spiritual studies, like the way that you can charge up water, right? And it's actually a practice my clients to do is to hold the water and to charge it with whatever intention that you want, especially if you're trying to heal your body. That's really, really special. And you can see light coming into your water, whatever it is. And then when you drink that, it helps to manifest what it is that you're wanting to manifest in terms of your intention.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that hack. Yes. And like you were saying, just get you a piece of paper. You could put on the bottom, you could tape it. Or you can also, if you're Reiki attuned, you can send Reiki to your water and you can just speak into it.
And for those people who are science people like me, who really, feel like there's some fear there, you heard it already. Science, okay, energy. That's it.
You're so cute. I see like you speaking into your water cup. So if any of you guys out there see Diana speaking into her water,
what is she doing? I'm
right.
Yeah. I'm telling how beautiful I am, and I love you, Diana. And I'm drinking this.
I'm gonna start doing it every morning to my tea.
That's a great idea.
Before drinking, right? Like, speak to it. It's a good tip.
As I was listening to you ladies, I was thinking about, in terms of how do we translate energy work in the context of professional, like in the business setting, right? And, I just remember thinking, and I don't know if this is your experience, but in the professional world, there seems to be such a disconnect, or maybe it's just my interpretation, is that if somebody is labeled as more spiritual or, like talking about the topic that we do, there seems to be the perception that person, for whatever reason, is not going to be successful. I think that's the story, right? And I think that's the fallacy. If I'm going to be so blunt, let me just say, I think that's the lie that many people out in the professional environment have been told, that you have to disconnect energetically this kind of intuitive work from yourself, from your professional level. In fact, if you don't, you're not. If you do, if you embrace it and integrate this, that you're actually going to be not successful, right? You're going to fail at business if you do this. And I want to kind of throw this out, because it's not until I've experienced just the opposite did I realize that, oh my OMG, this has been the biggest lie that I've ever heard, and I actually believed it for most of my life. That's part of the taboo, right? That's why it's so taboo, that for whatever reason we can't talk about it, because if you talk about this kind of stuff, right, that means that you're not going to be as successful.
Yeah.
So my experience is that is just hogwash.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, what I've experienced, that there's like this like vow of poverty, or like money isn't spiritual, or you can't be like super rich and also be spiritual, and yeah, there seems to be, I feel like, a lot of confusion around that. But that's why I love Tony Robbins, because he combines them both, and he'll tell you straight up, like, business is a spiritual game, baby.
It is. And if I can add to, I also think too, when somebody immediately dismisses it, understanding that it's something that you've been told, right? It's like think of children, right? They just go around, they love everyone and everything, but you've been told to not like this stuff, that it's considered bad, it's considered taboo, right? And so if you're someone, especially if you're listening to this podcast, first of all, I just want to give you props to even being here, because we may be expanding you. You might feel some discomfort, but this is how we grow, is when you can sit and stay with an open mind. And so the more and more you can start to open, I'm getting goosebumps again. This is like, for me, is how I get my confirmation. Like when you can start to understand that, hey, it is going to take doing something different, right? You have to decide that you're going to do something different. And that includes, this is also part of the work, especially that's why I love the space of entrepreneurs, because we're not like everybody else, right? Because we're willing to be more open-minded. We're willing to see things a little differently, able to take different action. And so if you're someone that feels like maybe energy work or the word frequency, all of these things are taboo, then I'm here to expand you and say, hey, let's just sit with this. And I'm encouraging you to do this, to start opening your mind, and maybe even go get you a session with somebody locally. But also, I want to also incorporate this too. A lot of these practices, these are not new age practices. They call it new age. This is not new age, guys. Like, these are old ancient techniques. There's a reason why this stuff has been hidden, because it's going to help you get to another level. And it's so much easier. I don't mean to be like crazy over here, but it is much better to keep you in, like you said, the vow of poverty, right? It's so much easier to keep you in a state of poverty consciousness, because when you're coming from a state of abundance or abundance consciousness, you're much more powerful. And when you know these laws, you're much more powerful. So much easier to keep you down, to keep you disempowered, right? And so that's why I'm here. I want to share this with anyone that's listening, so that way you can, whether if you're an entrepreneur, if you're, if you do work for somebody, especially if you feel like you're so disconnected. That's why I love this work as well, because it really just helps you with coming back to yourself, because the answers that you need are not necessarily going to be from somebody else. It's always within you. And it's going to be up to you to decide, how those messages come in, which is why it's really, really important for you to start the inner work, to start to clear out the noise. Because right now, a lot of people are walking around with so much distortion, so much, I'll even use like the word trauma, because that also creates the distortions in the energy field, where you can't get like a clear signal, if you will, for to hear the inner guidance. So you have to do a lot of this inner work, so that way you can hear your inner compass, and which is going to help you with where you want to go. If that makes sense.
So Diana, thank you
Uh-huh.
for that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Earlier, before we started talking, we were talking about, you were mentioning about, as a business owner, right? As a business owner, how it's important that you're seen. So I want you to elaborate on that, because when you mentioned it, I was like, I have to bring it up, because that's something that, I work hard to do that. And I love that you go live, and I appreciate that about you. And you're kind of like an inspiration, because I'm like, yeah, I have to go live to it. I have to do that. So can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. And I'll kind of segue with something else too. Or I'll start with something else. Before I came into this work, I was terrified. Like, if you knew me from telling you, like, if you knew who I was terrified to go live. My Facebook was on lockdown. If you were not part of my friend, nobody knew nothing, like nothing. Like, I did not go live. I didn't share anything. I was very private. But when I decided that I wanted to go into this space, right? I used to, like I was saying, I had different careers. I used to be in real estate. I used to work in state government. When I decided I wanted to go into this work, and I knew deep down in my heart I was supposed to go pursue it, even though I was terrified, I knew that I had to go be visible, right? And so this is something I want to share, like, especially if you have a business that you know is ultimately, I think that's why we also come into business. Of course, it's to make money, right? It's to help ourselves and to have freedom, but it's also because, you may be doing something that you absolutely love, right? Something that you're passionate about. And the way I see it is, and I think a lot of this came from real estate. I did listen to some of the real estate stuff. They always kept saying, "There's no secret agents, guys." And so they would talk about there's no secret agents. And for me back then, it was not embodied, and I did not like it. That's how I found it. I was like, oh, I cannot be doing real estate. Thank God I decided to come over here. Um, and so same thing applies to business, right? How are you going to help people if nobody knows about you? And one thing that I will share, I'm someone that invests very heavily in myself, and so I had a mentor that helped me to shift my big fear of going live, of being judged, honestly, because that's one thing. That's why I did not want to go live, because I was like, oh my gosh, I say all the time. I say right. You know what I mean? Like, I say all these things, I stumble over my words. But now with practice, now I love to go live. Now I just go live, just make it easier. Like, versus me, I'll just be honest, like, this is how I used to be. Used to have my phone, and I would try to like script it, and I would mess up over and over and over. You know what I'm talking about. Now, just hit that live button, just go. And it takes off that pressure. You know what I mean? And so I'm sharing this too for anyone that has a business, also because you want people to look at your energy. So talking again, we're here talking about energy, because when you go live, I feel people, and let this be like a way of people filling into your energy, and let them decide, are they for you or not for you, right? Do they vibe with you? I'm going to share a little bit about human design, because I'd love to talk about human design. So I'm a manifester. So in human design, you're one of 5 different profile types. You're either a generator, manifesting generator, manifester, projector, or reflector. As a manifester, I have a closed and repelling aura. What the fuck does that mean? It means like I just show up and they are triggered by me. I don't have to do nothing. But energy speaks for itself. And the ones that are right for me are drawn to me. They're like, oh my gosh, I love your work, da, da, da. And the ones that, are not right for me, my aura, I show up and they're like, oh no, they don't know nothing about me. And they're just like, no, 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 no. And that's great, because when I go live, it sifts and sort. I tell people, like, if you don't like me, block me. I don't care. Unfriend me, block me. Just so this allows the space for the people to come and find me. And you do the same. Let you show up. Let people come I like to say, like, speak your siren, if you will, speak your voice. So that way they can be like, oh my gosh, yes, I love her energy. I want to, Brenda, I think of you now. Brenda's like the investing queen. I'm like, okay, let people come and learn from you. And you're like, yes, if I want to learn about investing, like I need to go get with Brenda. You know what I mean? That's something I would love.
Absolutely. I love that. What's a tip that you can give of someone that just feels like they don't want to be seen? Like, how did you get started? Like, how would they get started?
So it's like riding a bike. So you have to understand it's a skill. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you a little cheat. If you decide that you want to do this, you don't have to go the exact same way. So I started on social media. I started on Facebook. So Facebook's kind of my jam. I have Instagram, but that's not really like my spaces that I hang out in. For me, it's Facebook groups, or it's Facebook. And then I started a Facebook group. And so this is one way you can do it, but it may not suit everybody who may not want to do a Facebook group. So I started off with the Facebook group, and the amazing thing was it kind of creates a little bit of privacy. So when I first started in my business, I had a Facebook page, and I had my little scripted videos, and I didn't really share, also because I was really scared of coming out with my work, being judged and everything. And I decided to do a Facebook group, and in there, it's kind of like a little hidden space. If you make it private, make sure you make it private. Don't leave it public. And then from there, you have to understand it's a skill. And so you can do a challenge. So maybe if you have a Facebook group, or if you don't, do a challenge, maybe like a 7-day live challenge. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I think that's what most people do, is that they make this whole thing. You can even do like, hey guys, I'm just doing a 7-day live challenge. The way I started was a 30-day. I did a 30-day live challenge. It's called 30 Truths in 30 Days. I went live every single day in my Facebook group for 30 days. And I resisted it so much. Like, my videos are still in my group. I leave them up there because I would wait till like last minute, 11 o'clock at night, not wanting to show up live. I was scared. I was like, no, it's funny. I leave them up there because it's so funny. Oh my gosh.
That's your brain, like the resistance. Isn't it crazy? Like, your brain resists. Even with
It
the
is.
summer, I shared with you guys, I was like, I'm gonna cancel.
Right. And so it's a skill. And so like the more and more you practice it, the more and more you develop it. It's like riding a bike, driving a car. The more and more you do it, it just gets easier. And so y'all see me right before the summit. I'm like, all right, guys.
Right.
I'm telling you, this was not me, like who I used to be. And so if you're someone that's like, I don't go live, well, I'm telling you, Diana, I have a nickname with my friends. It's kind of a curse word, but Diana MF and Kim, right, is like telling you, I don't want to say it because I don't know if I can say it on the podcast, but Diana
That's good. You did it right. You did it right.
is telling you can go live. But again, I also want to make sure that you're not creating so much fear that you're not taking action. And that's the biggest thing that I want to share as well. Like, having a business, this is where I see so many people getting caught up, especially like in this type of work, because I know it's taboo and everything, is that they're not taking any action because they have a lot of perfectionism. And so you have to release that. You have to let it be messy. You have to let it be super uncomfortable and just keep going. I'm a recovering perfectionist, like crazy perfectionist. And I've just learned to like let it go. Just keep going, because you taking just those steps and just doing something to move the needle forward will get you so much further than you just sitting there overthinking it and not ready to push the button or ready to take the action on what you need to do in your business.
Brenda, Diana, you talking about this kind of triggers me in a really good way. The reason why it triggers me is being live and being seen. I struggle with that, and I feel like I would take 2 steps forward or 3 steps forward, and then I would take a step back, because and I'm going through that period right now. And the reason why I take a step back is because I have this story that, if I'm too out there talking all about this and just being so vulnerable, and just kind of like just hanging out, it's the fear of being judged that I am not being professional enough.
May I interrupt you here?
Oh, absolutely. That's my right. That's what stopped me.
And I want to talk more about this. And this is something that I've had to work through. And I'm going to speak more into the Asian stuff. Okay. Because this is why I'm doing this. Did you notice, Catherine and Brenda, when we were laughing, did you notice that she and I were both covering our mouth? Did you guys notice that? Did you see that? I'm just telling you. So whenever you see Asians, yeah, I know. We're taught as young girls. I know it's like an unconscious thing, we're taught, do not show your teeth. Right. We're taught, as I'm telling you, that's why I knew what she was talking about. So in Asian culture, not all Asian cultures, but it sounds like she and I are very similar. In Asian culture, women are taught not to be seen. To be seen, but not to be heard, if you will. Like, you're kind of seen, but you're like, That's why when you laugh, don't show your teeth. Right.
I didn't realize that it's like I do that all the time.
I know. And I've been learning. My mother's gone now, but when she was here, I'm like 40 now, but she would still tell me, cover your mouth when you're laughing, or even like for me to have my face here, you see how you have your hair up? My mother would always be like, have your hair up like this. She knows. You see, I know this is an Asian thing, right? She knows, because we're taught to be like this, right? My hair like in a bun. And for me, I used to have bangs. For me to have bangs, like, just to be different, if you will. Like, you're taught to not be seen, to not be heard, to be modest. Yeah. And so I've been working through the layers. So I just want to share with you, like, this is something too, like, this is also like an ancestral thing. And also I want to share, I don't see a lot of Asian healers. I don't see a lot of Asians in these spaces, because I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, that there's still a lot of the conditioning that goes on, that you have to, because in the culture, that it's very disrespectful. Like, you bring so much shame to the family if you go against what the family wants. So if your family expects you to, keep the business running, or to go into a certain career, even though you don't want to do it, and you don't go do it, you bring so much effing shame to the family. Like, it's wild. So I just, I want to share that. So there's so much conditioning that I feel that, is still happening with a lot of Asians. And so I just want to share this with you, Sue, like, understanding, yes, like, that is a lot of that conditioning, right? And so for you to start, it's up to you and how you decide you want to, like I like to say, like, there's layers to everything, and how you decide you want to peel back the layers, and really just showing up in your power, like, you showing up, right, with the medicine that you have for people, right? For you to really to show up and being like, yes. And also for you to expand other Asian women. That's what I love. That's why I love to show up. And, that's why my last name is Kim, and it's like, yes, I want to expand other Asian women and be like, yeah, you can come out here, and you don't have to be in this conditioning of saying you have to do what your family says. And again, like, there's so many layers to all of this, but I really believe that we're meant to do what lights us up, that what we're meant to do is like your gifts. But the question is, are you going to be brave enough to go and explore your gifts? Does that make sense? And so yeah, so I would love to see you go live, but it's not going to happen overnight, my love. You just got to work through the layers. That's what I've been doing. I've been doing this for a few years now, and it's a lot of layers, a lot of uncomfortability, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so thankful that I've done all the work to get here, and I'm still doing the work. I'm still going through so many layers, y'all. Like, oh my gosh, y'all wouldn't even believe. It's wild.
I just watched a summit of a speaker, and this is not the first time that I've heard a particular speaker say and suggest to do a challenge. And I need to do it because I've heard it several times, to do 30 days live, or even a whole year, one video a day. Even if you don't like it, if you're uncomfortable, just commit to it, doing that challenge. And that's going to help you grow to, where you are now, to where you want to be when it comes to going live and showing your face out there.
So Brenda, I'm going to initiate you into a 14-day live challenge.
Let's go, baby.
14 days. You can do it, girl.
Challenge accepted.
14 days. It doesn't have to be anything. Hey, y'all, I'm just doing, a 14-day live challenge. And I'm just here. It can be 2 minutes, but as long as you show up for yourself. I mean, I would like to see you, of course, like planning something maybe within, those few days. where you provide value, like you show up and you like talk about, investing or whatever it is, right? Or you can even talk about like your journey. But then there's going to be, I'm going to tell you, it's very exhausting when you show up live, like consistently. It's very tiring. So there's going to be days where you don't want to show up. So like if you can even just say, okay, I'm doing my live here. Okay, bye. And then that's it.
I'm glad you said that and you're giving me that challenge, because right now I typically go, my thing is IG. Like I go IG or I do TikTok, but definitely going live is the next step. So challenge accepted.
Engage, girl.
This
Who's
was
next?
such a beautiful gift, everything you just shared. And it really took me deeper into understanding the psyche, some of the psyche of Asian culture, which is beautiful. This is what I love about Babes Unscripted, is bringing women from all different types of backgrounds and cultures and walks of life, so that we get to celebrate each other and understand each other more, right? So like, what a beautiful gift that you just gave me and our audience into a deeper understanding of how that works. And I also think that what I see myself in you as well. I also have struggled with being seen like big time, right? Like when I first started my Instagram, I became popular just from posting quotes. Like it took me years to post a selfie, right? I started on Instagram when it was really just first becoming popular, and it was like, there was actually organic reach and you didn't have to like use ads. And the way it was I was just really reposting like quotes, right? Like memes, basically. And it took me forever to post a selfie. And part of that was because I had a stalker for so many years. I had an ex that was like, that we broke up because they had just really had a schizophrenic break and really started exhibiting those behaviors. And it made the breakup excruciatingly painful. And I was stalked for years. It turned into a trial. And it was really hard. And it even fell off the face of the earth to some of my friends because I just could not handle it, like mentally, emotionally. And then the partner that I had was not equipped to help me navigate these things, right? So there was also, I guess, his I don't know what you would call it, like feeling maybe helpless or whatever it was, that he couldn't be the man to kind of help me get through these things. Like he didn't know how to navigate them either. And so I really just started pushing through that lately, right? Like in terms of like putting pictures up, and I want to say these summits have really helped with getting my face out there, and Tony Robbins, really, because I was just like, I just got to get out there and do that. And I just wanted to touch upon something also that I think two groups I think that really also have a difficult time being seen is, number one, women in general, right? Like part of our ancient brain, we still are prey, basically, right? Like back in the days, we needed the tribe or male figure or something to protect us, right? And that there's still a piece of that there. And honestly, like, as much as I'm a big, strong, independent woman and I do all the things, right? We also have a little bit of a different thinking structure than men, right? Like we have to make sure that we're protected when we go into that parking lot or when we're walking late at night or whatever it is. And I do also think that translates into social media, right? Because at least for me it does, right? Because it's like, okay, if I'm posting this, people are going to know I'm not home or know I'm here. And part of it is the stalking, right? That I was just like, when I was being stalked, I believe that's a big part of how I was found. Where it's just like, okay, like I'm scared to put, I see everybody kind of being happy and I'm here and I'm doing this. And I still have this like anxiety where it's like, okay, if I put this there, they're going to know I'm not home. Or if I put this there, then they're going to know what I'm up to. And then it's just like, and then I'm going to be found. And it's difficult. And I think the one thing, I hope this kind of helps with this breakthrough, but I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago, I came home and someone tried to break into my apartment. And like there was crowbar marks on the door. And I had such a PTSD moment, like real PTSD, where I was just like, everything kind of just flashed before my eyes. And like for 2 weeks, I like slept at my dad's house. because I was just like so afraid to be in my own space. But I start to tell myself, I'm like, girl, if you're going to have these problems, right? Like broke with no following, you better go be rich and famous so that you can, like, you might as well do it anyway. Because if you're going to have these problems anyway, regardless, right? Without any money, without any following, without anything, you might go succeed, right? Get yourself some security guards, right? So go out there and do it. Like, that's literally what I told myself to help me, like, just push through it, you know? And then the other thing that I think I want to mention, which I think maybe you can relate to, Diana, is also the healers, right? And I think it's the same concept that we talked about with you, Sue, and this like trauma thing too. I think that most healers, the reason why you're a healer is because you've been through some shit, right? Like you've been through some drama and you had to like climb through that stuff, right? Get over the river, through the woods, and that's why you're a healer. But then there also is that fear to be seen as a healer. I know so many healers that, you know, they do great work, whether it's Reiki or tarot readings or whatever it is, but they're so scared to put themselves out there. You know, I do think that there's also that spiritual part that Sue was talking about, where it's like, you know, I'll be woo-woo to my family and my friends and the professionals, but I also think it's part of this anxiety of being seen, and because of whatever trauma you dealt with, right? So if you're a healer and a woman or both, go and put yourself out there and take that 14-day challenge.
Thank you for watching Babes Unscripted. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give us a like so we know what you want more of. And don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned because next week we'll be back with more real talk. Bye, babe.